G'day everyone, welcome to the BigFooty Eagles podcast live stream. It is our first ever episode of the live stream. Thank you very much for joining us to everybody who's on now live. If you're going to join us later on as well, fantastic to see you also. I'm HoneyBadger35. Thank you very much for joining us. Joining us on the show, as usual, let's start with the reveal. Please welcome Miguel Sanchez. Miguel, very nice to see you. Look at that.
Yeah, no worries. It's not much of a surprise if you've got my name down there, but yeah, good to be on. A little bit nervous, and yeah, it might be the first and last one we do before we fold the club the way we're going.
Yeah, well, we'll be folding the pod or the club, or maybe both at some stage in the future, no doubt. But we will be joined in doing so by the always entertaining Keys. Please, Keys, come online now and let's say g'day. How's things? Oh, we've already got tech issues. Look at this.
Sorry, just folding the club.
He's late because he's doing prop comedy. That's beautiful. He's what a fantastic start. Look at this.
G'day, guys.
We've got Keys. We've got Miguel.
Yeah. So,
fantastic news. Now, guys, we're going to get things off and running. It's going to be a pretty standard pod aside from being on camera, obviously. Coming up on the show, we're talking the big fade out against Essendon. Of course, we have to. We're going to do the classic big footy segment of where are they at and see where the Eagles are at this stage in the season. We've got mid-season draft news. Of course, we've got heroes and villains. And we're going to talk West Coast versus Carlton at the SCG, of all things. That is all coming up. But as I said, thank you very much for joining us. Comment, get involved, ask us questions, heckle us mercilessly, whatever you like. If you normally listen to the audio podcasts, if you hate our faces and you prefer the audio version as well, we are still endeavouring to do an audio podcast. It'll be the audio of this and it'll get uploaded into the feed. So you should still be able to listen on Spotify and your podcast apps. But otherwise, guys, fantastic to see you. For the viewers, fantastic to see them as well. We've got some comments already. Paul says, nice work, fellas. So there's at least somebody. Is anybody here related to Paul? Do we have somebody's brother or dad or best mate on the line? Because otherwise I think we've got a fan. So we're off and running, guys.
It's hard to pick up sarcasm in text. I'm not sure whether he's being sarcastic or not.
Well, nonetheless, we've got how far into this? A minute maybe?
Hey,
we've got a minute in. Happy days. Guys, should we crack on with the show? Shall we unfortunately talk about West Coast Essendon? I say, yeah, let's bloody do it.
Yeah, we'll go and get over that as quick as we can.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Pathetic. Okay. West Coast Eagles. We'll start things now. West Coast Eagles, 11 goals, 571, were defeated by Essendon, 12 goals, 15, 87. Migs, at one point, the Eagles led by 25, midway through the third, and then I think Essendon closed on a 50-9 run. As far as fade-outs go, that's pretty spectacular. So Eagles shot themselves in the foot, maybe a season-defining loss. What did you make of all of it?
Yeah, let's not talk about this one too long because I don't want to cry on camera on our first episode.
Say something for down the line.
Yeah, I suppose we rolled the dice a bit on Yo and his fitness and sort of ran the risk that we'd suffer a couple of injuries, and that backfired massively with losing the two guys and two really important guys before halftime, which left us.
Here badly. Jesus, wet.
We got in the comments or in the peanuts. Look at this. Yeah. We've got shitloads of comments.
Shout out to Sally as well.
Yeah, Sally wants a shout out. We've got people watching from Japan. I don't understand what's happening, but Keys is still getting heckled from the cheap seats. Keys, I'm sure you're having more fun now than you were on Saturday though, because West Coast Essendon fell off the rails in a very, very big way. What do you make of it?
Yeah, it's a little bit the Emperor's New Clothes game, I think. Going in, I think we probably thought we were, maybe a contender once we got guys back in the side and everything like that. And I think that game sort of they bear the truth that, maybe we're not that good a side, and really, rather than being a contender, really just one of those sides chasing one of the last couple of spots in the 8. Whether we get guys back or not. And we just, as much as we got, it was good to get Yo back in the side, but we've lost Kelly and Allen and, half our reserves as well. So, and it was the old problems that we've had consistently throughout the year. Last quarter fade outs and losing contested ball and clearances and low tackle counts, all that stuff sort of got sheeted home. And before it was, you sort of maybe passed it off because it was a away game. But to have that happen to us at home was really, really disappointing. And Essendon are a good side, they're an okay side, but like us, I mean, they're not really a contender, and we've got a few problems to solve in the back half of the season.
I think the writing was on the wall in this one a little bit. The Eagles are ultra efficient to start, but then, the one stat I think for this one that stands out for me is the inside 50. We had, what do we have? 45. Essendon had 57. Now, for all the talk of our low inside 50s, something that's actually worked in the Eagles' favour is the differential. We've got low inside 50s, but we actually tend to outdo our opponent. It's just the speed of the game, the number of inside 50s in an Eagles game. So the fact that we're actually outdone by 12, the writing was on the wall in that capacity in a big regard, Miguel. Midfield, obviously we lost Kelly, but with the sub, we weren't down a man as such. We were down a crucial cog, though, because there's not a lot of midfield depth anyway, and it went to water. It completely capitulated.
Yeah, and Kelly's probably been he's probably leading our best and fairest at the moment. So, yeah, between him and Nick Nat, they've been a great combination. But apart from that, there's not been too much to rely on there in the midfield. So that's what's this about watching from Japan? Someone else said we look like Asterix characters, and now Merkin's saying we look like Simpsons characters. So if you're watching from Japan, we should be anime characters, shouldn't we?
Big in Japan.
Yeah, the even before Kelly went down, I thought the writing was on the wall. We weren't really dominating play. We weren't getting the game on our terms at all. It was just the efficiency when we did create scoring shots inside 50 that gave us that lead. And then, in the second half, our key forwards sort of struggled to take a mark. Hooker was marking everything down the other end, Hooker and Stringer, and our guys just couldn't take a mark. And that second half was pretty disastrous to watch, and you could see it coming. We lost all our structure. We couldn't get the ball out of our back half as soon as it went outside 50. It was it was sort of a kick around the body in hope, and found an Essendon chest and came straight back in again. So it was just a tidal wave, and we didn't have the energy or the resilience to stop it.
Probably one of the minor positives out of it, I thought Nick Nat dominated the game. I've seen some discussion the other way based on the influence of his opponent, but I've never seen somebody just give up rucking. They didn't jump. They stopped jumping. They knew Nick Nat were going to win. Despite that, the mids couldn't get on top. Backs were inundated. I thought at times they held up well, but then there are other occasions where they handled a particular situation really poorly. Keys, that probably just comes when there's pure weight of numbers. You can't expect them to hold on forever. Some decent moments from Barras and co, but some other moments where, probably left you scratching your head a little bit. And, as I said, yet again, all turned to water.
Yeah, just weight of numbers in that second half. You just couldn't, finger in the dike stuff. Eventually, it's just going to break. And I think it was something like 22-6 inside 50s in the last quarter. Something
sounds
ridiculous.
Right.
You can't expect your back line to hold up, and you can't expect the forwards to score either when it's going in there so little. It's something that the midfield's going to be a problem until we get Shuey and now Kelly back, because the depth is just really not there in terms of real quality, and Merritt and Parrish in particular really chopped us up through the middle in that second half.
I'm not sure that there's much specifically from the Essendon game that we need to take away that's new, I should say. There's a lot of takeaways from the Essendon game, but I think a lot of it we unfortunately already knew before. So we might as well transition from this into a little bit more of a broad chat, because the Essendon game was crap. It wasn't the sort of crap that you can just throw away and file as a shitty game and move on. It was very similar to a lot of the fade-outs, a lot of the issues we've seen from the Eagles before. So, Miguel, at this point in the season, you've got the Eagles. They were coming in as a premiership favourite. Injuries, I know, but we're 6-5. we've now lost games at home, so it's not like it's this completely set and forget 12 wins situation. We need to play hard at home still. We've had 2 massive fade outs against Essendon and against St Kilda. We had a bit of a fade out against the Dogs. We have the huge loss to the Cats on our record as well. Giants game I thought was a bit of a fight, but shit, they're really starting to add up at this point. So, Migs, it's the age-old big footy question. West Coast Eagles, where are they at?
Yeah, not only that, but yeah, we've lost, 2 in a row now. We've got a really difficult game coming up. Wasn't necessarily difficult on paper when it was first scheduled, but now it's been moved to the SCG. We've lost half our team. We're playing half the Beagles team. Yeah, and then the next 2 games after that are at home, but they're Rich, who are, even though I think at the moment they're a danger side, and the Bulldogs who are flying. So, if we don't get things back on track quickly, we could be 6-8, before we know it, and then it's pretty much season over from there. So, difficult to be optimistic, I think, at this stage. We were saying, in our pre-season wraps and basically all the way through, that we need to be top 4 to contest for a flag. That looks like an absolute distant dream at the moment. Everything would basically have to go right from now. We could barely afford to lose a game to get top 4. And so, yeah, I don't know. I haven't checked the odds, gamble responsibly. But yeah, imagine we're at pretty long odds to get top 4. So yeah, then we're where we were talking about earlier, which was just making up the numbers in the 8 at best, which is unfortunate. And even then, we're going to need some improved performances just to hold our spot in the 8, I think. So yeah, I mean, where does that leave us? There was a pretty heated discussion probably in the aftermath of the game about where we've got to post the 2018 flag, and we're looking down the barrel now of a 3rd straight season where we're not going to make a prelim, which is really disappointing. And there's been reasons for it each season, and we've had horrible injury run this year. We had all the we had injuries and all the disruption last year, but yeah, 3 years in a row for a club that is used to success and is hungry for success. It's it's going to start to build up to a critical mass pretty soon.
Keys, there's obviously positives and hope, light at the end of the tunnel with the injury list. We've been hanging our hat on, once the Eagles are healthy, it's all going to come roaring back. But are we going to get healthy? Because we've still got a month left before we get McGovern back. Witherden, Shuey, Kelly now. Kennedy's missing this week with old age, seemingly, so obviously he's going to get managed. Yo's just coming back from a big layoff. Ryan and Hearn still pretty rusty by the looks of them. So I understand. I've been one of them as well. I'll cop to it. I've been one of them that said when the Eagles get healthy, they're going to be dangerous. That's a hope. It's not really an expectation at this point.
Yeah, well, I think, if you're, 6-5 is pretty disappointing. It's not the, obviously not where we want it to be. Amongst a bunch of things, I mean, really, our injuries are a factor. You can't ignore. I mean, Shuey and Yo have played 2 games between them. That's our 2 best midfielders, and the 2 that, give us the most drive and contested ball. So we're missing them. Duggan's missed 4, McGovern's missed 4, Hearn missed 5, Ryan missed 5. Brass has missed a couple. So we've got quite a few guys that have missed footy. And you have a look through some of the other clubs, and I sort of added up. Guys who are clear best 22, we've lost about 41 games total. So that's like the guys that said: Ryan, Yo, Shuey, Duggan, Kennedy, Gov, Hearn, and Tommy. And there's a few other sort of fringy type players that have missed games as well. You sort of go through. I sort of ran through a list of what some of the other clubs have gone through, and probably GWS are the one side that's they've missed Whitfield and Cornelio, De Boer and Phil Davis have missed a fair bit. John. We Doggies are missing Trelaw and Dunkley. but you know, they've got a midfield that's about 100 deep. So the cost.
The two of them have also
is not anywhere near the effect of Shuey and Yo being out. You know,
they've also played more than one game each.
If the Bulldogs lost, let's say they lost Bruce and Norton, for example, you know, they'd be screwed because that's their two key forwards and they haven't got any depth to cover them. So, you know, I think we've unfortunately lost games from guys who, in the area of the ground, we could least afford it. And then we've also, you know, we've had games where, you know, I think we had Govern, Brass and Hearn all out of our back line. So, you know, injuries are not, they're not a complete excuse, but they're a factor. If you want to sort of hold out some hope for the back half of the season, the fact is in 4 of our 5 losses, we were in games right until the death, basically. You know, the Geelong game was just a complete, you know, catastrophe. That was just horrid. But you know, you're sort of looking at, you know, the Bulldogs game, 28 minutes down, we were within a kick. You know, Essendon, 22 minutes in the clock, we were still within a kick. The Giants game, you know, 5 minutes to go, we were still within a kick. So,
but is that is that a bigger issue though? Because you look at the breakdown quarter by quarter.
It means that it's an issue because we're fading out in the last quarters. But what to me it means that we don't have to necessarily reinvent the wheel because we're getting to the, you know, the closing. We're close in the closing stage of games, so there's some tweaks. There's no doubt about that. But it's not, if we fix a couple of things, it's not like we have to improve our game by 70%. It's like maybe a 15% improvement, and then we can sort of go again. But you know, we look at the injuries list. You know, the list of outs today. I don't know if we're going to get the players back. Who we're missing? You know, are we ever? The contested ball is not a new issue to this season. That's been something that's been there for the last 3 years, and even in the lead up to the grand final in 2018, it was a problem. So some of these things, our low tackle count has always been an issue. So our
tackle numbers weren't quite as bad though in 2018, which I was sort of surprised to learn because it feels like it's always been an issue. But we're dead last in the league. I think I saw a stat in the week 2018 we were 8th. Not good, but, you know, not absolutely bottomed out sort of situation.
I think 2018's numbers were helped by the fact that we played, 3 extra games. So someone did the tackle numbers per game, and we were about 15th then as well.
Was it? I thought I saw a ranking where we were up a bit high. I must have done that.
I think that was raw numbers though. Whereas
that'll do it.
So the finals tackles sort of pushed us ahead of a few teams. Someone's just made a World War I reference in the comments, I noticed.
we got World War I references, and even more upsettingly, we've got cricket references in the comments, so we'll move along.
Okay. I can explain the cricket reference to you, but Keys might have to explain Keys can explain the World War I reference because he's the only one old enough to have been there.
Beautiful stuff. Cricket free pod. Absolutely not. Look,
get fucked with it. What's the problem?
There we go.
Some phone charging issues.
No, it's all good. Miguel just said that you were around for World War I whilst you're away, so I think you're doing quite well to be on the tech at all.
Yep.
Keys was talking about our work rate and about the fact that we're still in games, Miguel, towards the end. You look at the quarter-by-quarter breakdown. First quarter's won. The Eagles have won 8 of their first quarters. That's second in the league, behind only the Dogs. We've won 8 of our second quarters. That leads the league, tied with Port, Brisbane, Sydney. You know, all very good top 8 teams. Third quarters, we've won 5. Now, I'm scrolling. That is in the middle, sandwiched in between North Melbourne and the Giants, very middle of the pack. And Migs, quarter number 4, the Eagles have won 3. Do you want to know who's won more? Every team in football.
Everyone.
Collingwood,
Yep.
Hawthorn, St Kilda, North, Gold Coast. Everyone, you know?
Brilliant.
Jack Darling leads the league.
That's exactly where you want to be, is behind North.
Yeah, terrible. So Jack Darling leads the league in second quarter goals of every player in football. He's kicked more second quarter goals than anybody. Second on that list, Josh Kennedy. So what's going wrong in the back half of games? Is it legs? Is it going in too tall? They're running out of runners. Is it just a hunger thing, a loose ball thing? You know, what's the issue here? There needs to be an improvement in the back half of games.
Is it a really intensive game plan that we require the guys to do a lot of running so that by the end of the game they're stuffed? I don't know. Is it is it that we're too tall, so we're relying on too few guys to do that running? Certainly on the weekend there was excuses for it, maybe not excuses, reasons for it, because we were a man down. I thought we did the right thing at selection by going in a bit smaller, but yeah, obviously you can't plan to lose guys. But yeah, I don't know. Traditionally, we've been a really strong endurance fit team, and it's really unusual to see us they're failing like this late in games. The numbers I checked I was going to say about the tracking numbers, the GPS numbers that we're actually ahead. They'd run more by the end of the game, and it looked in that last quarter like everyone was out on their feet. Liam Ryan was done. So, but they must have really outworked Essendon before that, I think. So yeah, difficult to know what it is from outside the four walls of the club, but yeah, that's certainly something that that needs to be reviewed, I think.
Part of our problem is, our game plan is based on precision and efficiency. So, I think early in the game, it seems to work. That's why first and second quarters we're doing. Second quarters in particular, that's where, you take out the Geelong game and we're doubling our opponent's score. So when we're fresh and we've got some run in our legs, that's all right. But as the game wears on, perhaps our disposal efficiency drops, and because we're not a good pressure side, we have trouble turning the ball over. And sides, I think one of the things too is I'd sort of go back to St Kilda game through that first half, and partway through the third quarter, St Kilda were chasing tail, and they looked down, and we were sort of punishing their mistakes. And once they sort of got a bit of a run in that last part of the third quarter, you could see their confidence growing because they started to create mistakes, and that fed on itself. And the more mistakes they created, the more it was like their reward. It was like getting a dog to chase a stick. The more times you throw it, the more times they'll go after it. They were getting the reward, so it just built, and they got that momentum, and we couldn't arrest it back. And I think the Essendon game's the same, and it's such a I wonder sometimes whether or not our game plan's a little bit too complicated. We often see, we see our recruits struggle to fit in their first year. Even Kelly, when he came across last year, struggled to find his way. Our young guys, we keep talking about, that learning their system and what have you, and you sort of wonder whether or not, just let go of the reins a little bit and just let the guys go and not try and be so perfect. And at times, I know a comment popped up a moment ago, talking about our kick-ins from defence. They always go to the same size. We're predictable to each other, but I think we're also predictable to our opponents. And I'll be interested in this game against Carlton with a younger list and things like that on a ground that we don't play well at, but it's a different style of ground. Whether we just go, well, let's just tuck the footy and just get it going forward and not worry about being so perfect and just try and win some territory. It's something that the coaching staff need to look at, because I don't know that we've got, with the guys like Yo and Shuey and those sort of players out of the side, we haven't got the cattle to play that same precise ball game plan.
We've been succeeding. Now, I love the game plan, and I'm a shameless defender of it, but I don't think it's unreasonable to suggest we've been succeeding on a talent gap in a lot of our games. Games like the Essendon one, maybe in a healthier list, maybe in years gone by, it's just the pure strength, the quality of the guys you've got out there that might get you over the line one week or another. Now, without that, we're maybe starting to see it exposed a bit where it doesn't work. I don't know that many teams could succeed over a sustained period of time with these outs. But equally, I don't think the game plan should look this far away, especially in the clutch, like in the key moments of the game.
It's interesting to say talent gap, Badge, because if you have a look at who we've beaten
Port was the big one.
Sides that are down the bottom of the ladder. We've beaten Fremantle, Hawthorn, Collingwood. Those sides, our wins have come against the poor sides. The teams we've beaten, Bulldogs, Geelong, any side. Basically, the highest side we've beaten was Port, who were fifth, and all the rest of the sides we've beaten have been bottom half of the ladder. And anytime we play someone above us, we're losing. So it's that sort of talent gap, against the good sides, it doesn't wash. We get found out against the better sides that can catch us out.
So let's sort of project this one out. The Eagles have, 11 games left, 2 at the SCG, so that's great. We've got 6 at Optus. Prior to the Essendon game, we were batting perfectly at Optus. There's a cricket reference for you. G'day, Oka. So we should still be holding serve. There's a tennis reference for you. G'day, Oka. At Optus, at home. Let's say we win 4 of the 6, 5 of the 6. That doesn't seem unreasonable. We've only got 1 game left at the MCG. Brings our total to the season to 2. Thanks very much for that one for the AFL. Game at the Gabba against the Lions, you'd consider that a loss. Adelaide Oval's a happy hunting ground of late. Against the Crows, maybe that's a win. So there's some games that are winnable. But equally, Miguel, we've got the Tigers still. We've got the Dogs again. Who else we got? We've got the Demons who are looking good. Lions, like I said, at the Gabba. I'm not going to count the Derby because, we thumped Freo last time, but they're going to be hungry and they might even have a chance to take a final spot off us. So looking at our fixture, are we a finals team at the moment?
Well, I think it really depends on those next 3 games. And if we go 1-2, then we're 7-7, and we're really pushing shit uphill to try and get into the 8 at that stage. I think it's really going to come down to this little period now and how we go in the next around this bye that's coming up, and the 2 home games we've got, because we probably can't afford to drop more than one of those 3, I don't think.
Assuming that the fixture stays the same, Keys, with how it is, COVID, I know there's a few moving parts at the moment, but let's assume the fixture stays essentially as it is now. 1, are the Eagles a finals team? And 2, let's say that we get some of the troops back, but not all of them back, a pretty moderate run with injuries from here on in. What do you actually think is the ceiling for this Eagles team as we currently are watching them?
Well, I think, at the moment we're in a dogfight for a spot in the last 2 spots in the 8. It's really hard to see us climbing above anybody else. That's where we're at. We just need to, we need to hold off like Essendon and Giants, are the ones that are coming for our spot in the 8. So, we need to get 12 wins. So we've got to find another 6 somewhere. You're sort of looking, well, if you got offered a 5th or 6th at the moment, you'd take it in a home final. If we get a home final and win that, we get into the second week. That's probably par for where we wanted to be. Absolute par for what we would have thought we could get out of the season. And that's looking a long way off. Really, top 4, we're going to win probably 9 of our last 11 to get top 4.
No worries.
you've got to be, you've got to be a reverse DP to get anywhere close to that. So and look, and history is we don't win flags with the so yeah, it's just grinded out, and I mean, you're starting to get to the stage where you're looking at the back half of the year, and you're sort of hoping that you get some performance out of the young guys, and we got some of these guys like O'Neill and maybe Edwards and True and Bailey Williams. We get to see some development in some of those guys, Patch, Brander, Rotham, and start to build towards maybe another crack next year. I mean, 2017 we were 6-5 halfway through, and we snuck in on percentage in the last game of the year when Jetta kicked that goal against Adelaide and fucked over Melbourne, which was so good.
Sure did.
So
fuck you, Melbourne.
So history's there, so maybe we sneak in, beat Adelaide, put Adelaide in Adelaide after the siren, and then 2022 we come back and have another crack. We've got a lot of work to do this year just to make finals, and I'm not convinced. Just at the minute, the way we're playing, we're just not quite there.
Mig, do we make finals, yes or no? And where is the exit coming? Or indeed, will there be an exit from the finals?
It's feeling like one of those years where we scrape in, and if we win an elimination final, it'll be like that Port one that Keys was talking about, where we win it after the siren in extra time or something, and then have got nothing left the following week. Really difficult to see us going any deeper. I think we've got our backs against the wall, just trying to make finals at this stage, and when we scrape in, we'll be doing that, just scraping in, and I can't see us doing a Bulldogs 2016 and flying from 6th or 7th or 8th to into the grand final. It'll be as I said earlier, I think it'll be another year of an early finals exit, 3 in a row following the 2018 flag.
Only if you put your glass half full hat on, you think, well, if we can just maybe ride this next month out, split the next 4 games, so we're 8 and 7, and then come, past that, we've sort of got games. We've got Collingwood and
got North at home at some point.
Collingwood and North, and St Kilda at home. Fremantle, if we can get it, and we get, after a month down the track, we sort of managed to get some of our personnel back and stop the bleeding with new guys going out, and maybe build a bit of momentum in the last third of the season and hit the ground running with, a pot-filled Rioli coming in round 23 and
stop that.
Who knows? But it's really, as Mick was saying, that this next month or so is really important, because if we don't, we've got to go 50-50 at worst. I mean, we just dig ourselves too far a hole to get out of. But we've got to fix up things like contested ball. I mean, in our wins, when we win, if we win the contested possession, so it's not contested, but are uncontested. We've won an uncontested possession in all our wins bar the Hawthorn game, and that was because Hawthorn were chipping the ball around so much. The games we've lost uncontested count by 100 or more in 115 against Geelong, Bulldogs and Giants all ran us off the feet. So it's that outside spread once they win the ball that we're getting slaughtered in, and we just don't have the tackle pressure. We're sort of won the tackle count in 4 of our games. It's not, and I mean, 3 of the wins we lost the tackle count, but it's just that spread. We can't control sides when they get us on the outside.
Also, that pressure gauge that I think Fox puts up that I'm sure is a made-up number, and it's just sort of a feeling that they put up. But
nothing.
Every time it goes up, ours is sort of in the poor range, and our opponents is up almost off the scale.
I've never seen that pressure gauge make any fucking sense whatsoever.
The least they should do is reveal the formula. Let us know what goes into it instead of this sort of vague, it's pressure and who cares? I don't know what that means. Get stuffed.
You can feel when a team ramps the pressure up, and we don't seem to do it very often at all. And you don't need a gauge to tell you that. I think it's just you can look at it and an observation.
Right, I'm doing my own pressure gauge. There you go. Look at this.
Oh.
Pressure gauge. Eagles are in strife. Anyway, this is all too negative. Hate this. Way too negative. We've got to liven things up. There's one way to do it. There's a surefire way to liven things up around here. And I think you all know what it is. It's time for heroes and villains. Heroes and villains time. Right. Not a lot of hero nominations this week, surprisingly, from the listeners and the viewers. A lot of people like Nick Nat's game, so big shout out to Nick Nat. I loved his game as well. I'm really struggling for heroes because last week we at least had the Indigenous jumper to praise, and at least we look good in that. Migs, can you liven us up a bit? Who do we have that we liked? What did we like? Please give us a hero of the week.
Oh, we've got going heroes first. I struggled for this. Liam Ryan, I thought just for telling the umpires exactly what we thought about that decision to pay him for blocking out of a marking contest when it looked like he was just protecting the drop space to me. I've got no idea how he didn't get a fine for that, but maybe, truth was a defence or something there. Other heroes, you for setting this up, and me and Keys for agreeing to be on it. And that was all I had.
Stop it, Miguel. That's
plenty of villains, though, when we get to that.
Clear the runway for villains. Do we still have Keys, or he's got charging issue? We're back with Keys. Just in time, Keys. Do you have a hero?
Yeah.
More specifically, do you have some villains?
Okay, I'll get heroes. WA Football Public sold out the Dreamtime game in 17 hours. That's a massive fuck you to Victoria and the ones that wouldn't give us games last year.
That was all Essendon, though. Sorry, I'm just going
to. So I'm going to give us all a pat on the back for that one. Villains.
Do it.
All right. I can't pronounce the last name. Nicola, it's something like Spiria or someone, who is the South Australian Chief Health Officer, who wasn't joking. I mean, if you put it in a skit, you think no one could be that stupid. She's told the crowd to duck if football comes in the crowd between Adelaide and Collingwood, and if it does, don't touch it. I mean, the football doesn't go.
And if you do touch it, wash your hands before you eat your pie.
I mean, it's kind of funny until you realise that every time we've had a press conference where a government minister or prime minister stood up and said, they're doing this because based on the very best health advice, it's clowns like her that are giving the fucking health advice. Shit, don't touch a football if it goes in the crowd. I mean, you're watching 44 blokes run around on the football field, tacking each other, pile each other on the ground, and everything like that. If there's a danger that someone in the crowd's going to get coronavirus from a football touch, I reckon you get 44 guys get infected first, but for some reason that's okay. And it wasn't even as if they said, oh, shit, no, we didn't mean that. They doubled down on it again today. And so she's on the list. Collingwood, sort your shit out. fucking
As
bored.
usual.
I'm sick of hearing about it. Yeah, I don't know. Like Kevin Oates. Cough. There was another one.
There's always another one. Battling on manfully there, Keys. There's a few. Well, what about Eddie Maguire? He was a popular one on the Collingwood theme. They're airing their dirty laundry. We've got some wanting a coup in their boardroom. I don't give a shit. But Eddie Maguire's commentary certainly got a lot of people irate on the weekend, Migs. I didn't suffer through a replay. I was lucky/unlucky enough to be at the game, so I didn't actually watch the televised replay once I knew the result. But commentary, not so impressive, I'm hearing. Eddie Maguire, pretty shit effort from him, Migs.
Yeah, so I heard. Yeah, I was like you. I was at the game and didn't feel like watching a replay. Someone did ask in the comments I saw when we're doing our next live call. So obviously that's gaining a bit of traction. And so maybe we should put Eddie and Dwayne in the heroes for promoting our live call.
Keys there. Go. We're responding to the comment there. What? No. The kid that got absolutely falconed at the Adelaide Oval a few weeks ago. Simba, they held up their kid to take a mark and it just went right on him. Got
COVID from
nearly knocked him out of the dad's hands. Yeah.
Should have ducked under the ball.
Here's one. And
Go on.
I sort of half predicted it last week. Essendon, before they came over here last week, they hadn't won a game on the road. They played 4 games on the road. They lost all 4. How many times do you reckon that the Essendon got a rare road win came up in the commentary? Donuts. But none. So, but it was just a great win. Apparently we're shit and we're not a finals contender or anything else, but it was the best Essendon win for years. It's like...
There it is.
Yeah.
Piss off.
Weak, spineless, gutless, Eagles can't close, Essendon, triumph, fantastic. Best road win since they last won in Perth. Well, not last one in Perth, but best road win since whatever. And there's Fox Footy posts, the 0-2 Essendon start to the season. How far are they away from a wooden spoon? And now, culture, the rebuild. You can see the vision. You can see what's happening. Footy media, footy discourse, obviously excluding us. Please continue to tune in, guys. Thank you very much. Absolute joke. Migs Villain. Here you go.
On that is Fat Guts Robbo. Not like him talking to me. Doing the podcast. But Robbo, he's the one because he was a freaking head cheerleader for Essendon during the week. And, you listen to him, you think they're going to win the grand final this year. Get stuffed. He can have it.
They're still 10th, aren't they?
And he's sycophant little mate, Jared Watley.
Villains, Keys nominated the WA public for hero. I'm going to nominate the large section of the Eagles crowd for villains that basically started to file out as soon as Essendon even looked like they were about to hit the front. And by the end of the game, there was probably more Essendon fans than Eagles fans left in the stadium. I absolutely hate people leaving before the end, win, lose or draw. I've always hated it, and it's just a shocking look. Injury gods, obviously villains. Weekly Tom Brown nomination for suggesting that Essendon were responsible for the Dreamtime game selling out.
Miguel, they're the home team.
Sure, he gets the award named after him, doesn't he?
Yeah.
I think so.
He'd be the front runner.
I think we'll throw a poll out there. Kane Corn's a good, strong early candidate, but I think that I think Tom Brown's coming home.
Tom Brown coming hard on the outside. Yeah. For a
I wanted to call it the Kane Corns Campaigner of the Year, but Campaigner of the Week. But I reckon Tom Brown's really.
Tom Brown can't get a scoop from his dad.
No,
it's true.
Not a great journo. Useless. Keep fire away, Migs. Keep going.
My final villain is weekly nomination for the AFL for bringing in the mid-season draft so that teams can fill holes on their list when their ruckmen go down, and they can pull mature age people from the waffle or the VFL or whatever, allowing everyone just use it to stockpile the 19-year-olds that were overlooked in the draft last year and are years away from a debut, which was probably about 3/4 of the picks yesterday. So, for them bringing in another stupid rule and allowing everyone to rort it, they get my nomination as well.
Very good. You'd never catch the Eagles trying to skirt the system and draft a 19-year-old who's miles away from a debut. So do we want to start talking about the mid-season draft?
I've got one more book.
May as well. Do we have to? We haven't announced a winner yet, have we?
True enough.
Saw Simpson's press conference today. Some bonehead maybe playing Richmond game next Thursday.
Because of the COVID change.
Yeah. Well, you wouldn't put it past the AFL to do that.
I actually thought they did a good job navigating this Essendon Richmond, bye week, dream time. Richmond are coming back to Perth. I actually thought they did an all right job. It looks like we've lost Keys, or maybe Keys is frozen up there, just in sheer rage at the villains of the week. Migs, we do have to nominate someone. We do have to. Yeah, we got you back again, Keys. There we go. Beautiful stuff. We got to name a villain of the week. We've thrown out a lot of nominations. Who actually gets the award this week? Who's taken home Tom Brown?
Robbo.
Yeah, give it to Robbo.
Yeah, I don't think we've actually had Robbo win this one yet. So congratulations, Robbo. I guess you're the Tom Brown villain of the week. All right, guys, let's talk about the mid-season draft. The Eagles participated, I believe, for the first time ever. Miggs, you mentioned that teams like to stockpile 19-year-olds who are miles away from a debut. First pick of the mid-season draft for the West Coast Eagles, William Collins, 19-year-old defender who fluctuates between the Swan District's Rezzies and League side. So what do we make of that selection?
Also fills in as drummer for Genesis on occasions.
Wow. Really?
Going to the really dated references here.
Good stuff.
Yeah, that's one of the ones I was talking about, obviously. Yeah.
Nah, sorry.
I'm not going to sing.
Keith, you got to keep going.
Do the drum solo.
At least give me this one. Yeah, at least give me the drums. All right. What's his name? Will Collins. Fire away, Pigs.
I don't know much about him. Obviously, the club loves him because they had a good look at him over the pre-season. There wasn't a spot for him, but yeah, as soon as they've opened up a spot for the mid-season draft, they've snapped him up. So yeah, he's obviously one that they've picked with a view to the long term. We've got some little bit younger fans who don't know who Genesis is. In the words of Molly Meldrum, do yourself a favour, go check them out on Spotify or whatever. Genesis and Peter Gabriel and Phil Collins' solo work. Just you can have an evening. The Connor West. Do you want to talk about Connor West? That was the real.
Do it, Connor West.
The real pleasing selection for me. We wanted a mature midfielder, I think, and we talked about, or the people on the board talked about, Jai Bolton and Hayden Schleuf and whoever else. But I was pretty glad to see us go a little bit more long term than looking at one of those really mature guys that are sort of 27, 28, 29. Connor West, 22, is potentially going to contribute this year. We've seen it announced just before we came on that both he and Collins will be playing for our Waffle side for now. So he's got the opportunity to try and push for selection during the season. And yeah, there's certainly some spots up for grabs in the midfield at the moment, and probably will be for the rest of the season. But he's young enough as well to hang around for 6 or 8 years. Reminded me a bit of the Mark Hutchings selection, where he also came from West Perth, coincidentally, but similar sort of age. Performing really well, and is someone who can come in and fill a role in the midfield. He's probably not going to win a Brownlow, but just someone who can come in.
Hutchie.
Yeah. No. Come in, fill a role, be a role player in a good midfield. So, yeah, really pleased with that selection. And, another potential father-son appearance as well, because his dad played a whole 13 games back in the mid-90s and won a Sandover as well. So, obviously comes from good stock.
Very solid stuff. Keys, Collins, West, Do you think they can contribute at anything this year? Do you think either of them will get a game for the Eagles? And do you think these are just sort of get a quick look at somebody for next year? How do you think this draft played out for the West Coast?
I think Collins was on our radar from fucking Meneglio. Jesus. If you don't know who Genesis was, you wouldn't know who Peter Meneglio was, unless there's someone different.
That one's gone past me as well.
Peter Meneglio used to play for West Perth in the 80s. He's a wingman, I think, from memory.
There you go. G'day, Peter. Hope you're listening, mate.
I think Collins, obviously, we were interested in him to train on, and had we had a bit more clarity around Venables and Rioli early in the year, well, we might have put him on the list at the start of the year. So he's a long-term option. I mean, he's been only played a couple of league games for Swan, so he's having trouble cracking the league game for a waffle side. So he's not playing this year. West, I can see him. If we don't sort of get some of those guys back, I can see West getting a game. He's probably ahead of Edwards and Trill in his development. He's 3 years older. You'd expect that. So once he's come in and spent 2 or 3 weeks around the club, you could see a possibility that he might get a game. So at least he's a hard body, but we'll see what happens.
Let's bring it home, gents. Let's bring the debut show home here. Round 12, West Coast Eagles versus Carlton, 1:20 p.m. Western Standard Time. Of course, West Coast Carlton, it is at the SCG. I reckon it's easier if I bring the changes up here on the screen because, my goodness, Miguel, there were a lot of them. Ainsworth, Harry Edwards, Luke Foley, Langdon, O'Neill, True, Vardy, all ins for this Sunday game, all on the extended bench. Archie out, injured. Allen out, injured. Brander, injured. Kelly, injured. Kennedy, injured. It's going to be at least 5 changes for the West Coast Eagles, and they try and win at a ground that, Migs, when did they last win at the SCG? How are we going to tackle this one?
Last win was in 1999, and I tweeted as well a little bit earlier that Luke Edwards confirmed as making his debut, named on the field. If he does debut and we win, he'll be the first Eagle to play in a debut win at the SCG since 1993.
There you go.
Little useless stat for you. 3 of those guys I think won't play. I don't think we'll make any more than the 5 forced changes. Vardy, I think, unlikely to play. I know Kennedy's out, but I think I was going to say Williams full-time forward, Vardy ruck is my fear on a small ground, and I'd be terrified, but I actually thought that was my first thought of what they'd do. Yeah, I suppose I was thinking Waterman could play tall. He's done at Waffleville, and on the small ground, I'd go with probably Williams having some more game time, spending more time forward when he's not chopping out Nick Nat in the ruck. Using him, Darling, obviously, Waterman as sort of the 3 forwards, and also play Ryan a bit more of a close to home forward, which will also help with the fact that he's struggling with his tank at the moment, having had a fairly lengthy layoff. And I think someone in the comments mentioned that might be a possibility as well. So apologies, whoever you were, that I can't remember and I can't be bothered scrolling back. But I can see them going with that sort of combination and leaving Vardy at home to help the Beagles, who will be very undermanned this week. So I've got really, if you look at the 22, Waterman coming in for Kennedy, Edwards and O'Neill coming in for Kelly and, say, Brander into the midfield. Harry Edwards for Allen is obvious. It's in a half back. And then the 5th change, I could see going one of 2 ways. The simple one would be just Langdon comes in, plays sort of forward, maybe pushes Cripps up onto a wing or something, and that really replaces Archie, who's sort of been playing a forward/mid role. The alternative would be Foley comes in, plays in defence. Nelson comes up the ground, plays the sort of forward/midfield/tagging role that we saw him play really well against Collingwood, and then haven't seen again. And that'd help with our midfield rotations a bit, and also give us a little bit of versatility if someone goes down, that Nelson's able to be thrown around the ground a bit. So wouldn't mind seeing that. But I think those will be the changes. Ainsworth, I think, will probably get a free plane trip to Sydney as the emergency. And so who was the other guy? True. I don't think they'll play True. I think really positive that they've named him in the side, but I think he stays back and plays with the Beagles as well.
Like I said, terrified that Vardy's going to play, because I watched Carlton play last week against Sydney and they didn't get the win, but they were very willing to play on, very willing to handball it out the back after a mark or a free kick, move quickly. Small ground, Keys. I'm terrified at Carlton going with a bit of speed. So quickly for their ins, they've got Dow, Fisher, Nunes and Parks named. Mickey Gibbons is going out. Decent, mid-sized forward, so maybe that helps out a bit. But yeah, Carlton pretty much coming in unchanged, you'd suspect, beyond that one change. Second last in disposals, Keys. They give up the second most clearances. They get tackled the most in football. So tell me why the Eagles aren't going to come in and win this game.
It's the SCG. Although Carlton's record, the SCG's only marginally better than ours, and someone put up a comment and said our last win at the SCG, Edwards wasn't born, and I reckon he's not the only one in the side that anyone born 2000 onwards. So you're looking at guys like probably O'Neill as well. Look, we've still got enough guys that we can. Carlton aren't travelling that well. They're sort of a little bit like us, I suppose. They've been competitive and then fallen away later in games. It's just if we can sort of keep some sort of leash on Cripps and Walsh, and hopefully Barras can have a big game against Mackay, and keep him relatively quiet. Yeah, who knows? I just looking at those outs, and I just can't sort of get myself too optimistic about it. I just hope the kids go in and have a crack. I hope we don't play Vardy. I hope we take the if there's a silver lining, we get to have a look. We've got Brander, Kennedy, and Allen are all sort of giants, and we've only got Edwards is coming back in. Hopefully, we get a bit of a look at a smaller lineup. So I'd be interested to see how we go with a bit sort of more running power than what we've gone into with other games, and it might give us a bit of a clue as to what we need to do in the back half of the year. If we can get a few run guys with some energy around the ball, and just give it a crack. I think the one good thing for us is I don't think there's going to be a lot of expectations around the side going into this game, and we actually tend to go quite well when the expectations are pretty low. When we've got lofty expectations or expected to win, we struggle. So who knows? Let's see how we go.
Migs, Keith touched on it then, the Mackay matchup. Leads the league in goal kicking, 38 goals thus far. Kicked 3 last week, but should have had heaps more. He missed a ton in that game that were relatively gettable goals. So he's going to be a handful. Keith suggested Barras, obviously the more experienced player. We've seen Edwards get the gig thus far this season on guys like Taberner. Threw him on the Hawks young forwards as well, but that Taberner matchup was probably the one where we saw Edwards maybe get a bit exposed for a 10-minute stretch there. They had to switch Allen onto him. Do you think they'll give Edwards a crack? Do you think they'll just throw Barras straight away on Mackay? How do we slow down essentially the best goal scorer in footy.
Yeah, I think Barras probably gets first crack at him. I know when in the Derby, I think it was Edwards and Allen were our two key defenders. I don't think we had either Barras or Gov, so that was sort of why Edwards took him. Edwards probably a better matchup to start on maybe Casbolt. McKay, someone's just commented that he's a bit quick. He's also he probably outreaches Barras, so it'll be a difficult matchup for him. He has been in good form. I thought he played really well on hooker. Probably one of our few guys that could hold his head up after that Essendon game. So, I think he's going to be going to get first crack. But that's it's going to be a big matchup, and the key will really be denying them enough forward entries for him to kick a bag. So it'll be on the guys up the ground because, if he does get Barras one out, he's probably going to get more opportunities than we would be comfortable with.
Leading early as well. He got a lot of separation last week watching their game. The kick would come in and his opponent wouldn't even be in the frame by the time he'd marked it. So bit of a concern there. Keys, you touched on the work rate. Again, it always starts from the middle. It's the same chat we have. I know there's no Kennedy. There's no Allen, if you want to factor that one in. But Darling's there. We've seen him have some good footy in him. Williams can take a grab inside 50. There's guys to kick to. And, in fact, I think we had a comment earlier about going ultra small and having Ryan come out of the square as well. If we can win in the middle from Nick Nat and co, there's still guys up forward that can kick a score for us. So, do you foresee the Eagles getting the opportunity?
Yeah, I can see us playing Ryan as a full forward. Michael Slug, good call. I agree with that. You said it, you typed it up as I was about to say it. Ryan out of the goal square, I think would be a good move. The other one is Waterman. He sort of, when we played Darling and Allen and Kennedy, and Waterman gets squeezed up the ground, and he sort of gets a sort of badly defined role. At Waffle, we've seen him kick bags of 5 and 6 goals as a lead up forward. So, it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity for Waterman because he's going to get fed probably a bit more ball than what he's used to in the seniors. He's generally a pretty good kick at goal. So he's one that, I could see him coming out of the goal square at times as well. So he can kick. He's capable of kicking 4 or 5, particularly because the Carlton defence, they'll be focusing on Darling especially, and to a degree Ryan. So there's an opportunity for Waterman to get off the chain and have a bit of a day out in a role that he's probably a little bit more suited to.
So, Migs, let's get into tips. The Eagles have to win. We've talked about earlier on the show, they've got to really start to get through this next couple of week period. It's looking a bit tough. We've got the Dogs on the horizon. We've got Richmond on the horizon. So this is a winnable game. It was certainly one we would have had in Biro, I would expect, as a win pre-season. How do you feel now? Yeah. Are the Eagles going to win this weekend? By how much? And who's going to star for us?
How do I feel is extremely nervous, but I'm going to predict us to win.
Good man.
Because I can't bring myself not to. So I've got here, pick us to win by 12. Best on ground, I'll say Jack Darling, who was a little bit quiet against Essendon. Kicked 1 goal, didn't get much of it. But as the main man, he'll step up. He'll give Liam Jones or whoever a bath, and he'll kick 4. And we'll have a very rare win on the SCG.
Very good. Love all that. Keys?
That just looks like white paper, but I assume you're saying that you picked Darling.
What is this now? 24.
24.
Keys with the tried and true. G'day, Jack Bauer, if you're listening. 24 points for Keys. He's on mute. That's how confident he is with his tip. He locked it in before the game had even started.
I was on mute. Well.
Go for it, Keys.
Yeah, I wasn't actually saying anything anyway. I was just holding up 24. But, yeah, heart says 24. Head says just pray.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can't stand.
Who impresses us?
The Carlton, but yeah, but hope so. And
Hope so. Best on ground tip, Case?
Best on. I pumped him up. Snake Waterman to have a day out and kick 8.
Goodness
and
me.
shut up, whoever it was I was arguing with that said he should be delisted. He's got no future. And apparently
Delisted's a bit rough.
He cost us more goals than he...
Big call out to Hungry Tiger if he's on Facebook.
Yeah, I hope he's watching. G'day, mate. I all week I've had Waterman as an out, but then when I saw the side, and especially when I saw Brander out, I thought Waterman could be actually in for a pretty solid day, working up the ground, and he's got a little bit more space to do so without Brander. So I don't mind the call there. 8 goals will be a sight to behold. So good stuff, Jake. Hope you can get on that. For myself, I'll go the Eagles by 7. Nick Nat for best on. He was by far best on ground for me against Essendon. He's been in really, really good form over the last few weeks. Big ruck battle this week as well, so hopefully he can rise to the occasion, and he'll actually have somebody jumping against him this week, so we'll see how he handles that. But let's see what happens. We've got some tips coming in here. One through Twitch says, I'm tipping us to win by 15 points thanks to Darling and Waterman getting us over the line. Keys has signed up to Twitch whilst he's on the podcast to put Waterman in the comments there, I reckon. I reckon that one.
They've basically just combined our tips, I think.
Good.
I said Darling, he said Waterman. Yeah.
Oh, well, we could have put Nick Nat in there, but anyway, here we go. Guys, Carlton, it's going to be a tough game. I think it's almost must-win territory. Certainly for top 4, it's must-win, but let's just make finals first and see what happens there. Fingers crossed for the West Coast Eagles this week. Guys, I reckon that will do it from us this week. The first ever live stream video podcast here for the BigFooty Eagles pods. Keys, how do you reckon things went, all things considered?
Well, we'll see. Yeah, we'll see if the people want to look at my ugly mug again next week. But I pulled it out of my ass, Shirley. We can only hope.
How come Keys is getting all the attention for the Phil Collins performance?
People love Keys. People are here for Keys.
God.
Here we go. Hang on. Clear the runway. Keys, take us home with something.
Confusion.
Was that him or was that
content?
Was that the Peter Gabriel era?
Oh, yeah, goodness me.
The young ones, Disturbed sing that song as well.
Oh, do they?
There you go. Big shout out to Disturbed. Oh, well, nicely done, Keys. Migs, nicely done from yourself. You're not chopped liver. Thank you very much for coming on. You've got some good research there, some good insight.
No worries. I might do one of the slow ballady ones. Take a look at me now.
Yeah, hit it.
Take a look at me now. No.
Beautiful.
That's all you
Beautiful stuff. Well done. Guys, thank you very much for joining us. Thanks for rolling the dice on the live pod. Thank you for the viewers as well and the listeners soon to be. If you're watching on the replay, join us next week, every Thursday, 8:30 p.m. And, Fivey's in this. We've got comments. We've got nasty comments coming through now. The hecklers have started from the cheap seats.
Yeah.
No good. All right, guys, we'll sign it off there. We'll leave you there. Big win for the West Coast Eagles coming up this weekend. 8:30 p.m. next week, guys. Facebook, Twitch, Twitter. Hopefully YouTube next week. Hopefully we get that one sorted.
Next week we'll unfold.
Don't we get a bye week?
No buys. No lane up, no buys. We're rolling through straight with this one. Guys, thank you very much for joining us. Feedback, please, genuinely. A lot of feedback would be fantastic. Just let us know what you like. Let us know what you disliked. Hopefully the stuff you disliked we can change. We can't change our appearance, but we'll soldier on nonetheless. We'll talk to you next week, Migs. No, more singing. More singing next week. No. We'll talk to you next week, guys. We'll leave you there. Keys, Miguel, thank you very much for coming on. Guys, we'll see you next week after a big Eagles win. Bye for now.
See you guys.